All right, guys, we are back for, what is this, day 5 now of the Summer League. We got a nice 4-game slate here, 10K to first. We have a lot of slates throughout the day. We have an early slate, afternoon slate, late slate. We're breaking down all that stuff over on Patreon. But yeah, if this is your first time watching, guys, cover content for DFS, player prop stuff like Prize Picks, Underdog, and Parlay Play. Underdog, they're the sponsor of the video. They're offering a lot of discounts. They offer discounts almost every single day. We have some today for the WNBA. Last night, they had a free square with Gunnar Henderson for the home run derby. But yeah, you can use the code DKDFS for first-time deposit match up to $250. So highly recommend it. We're posting a lot of Summer League props over there. And yeah, get on Underdog if you haven't already. And if you guys are looking for more content for Summer League, you can check my package link down below. We've had a lot of success through the first, 4 days now? Yeah, this is day 5. And hopefully we can keep it going. So recapping last night. So cashed in the early slate. I was looking like I was going to have a really good day in the early slate, but then some stat corrections came and bumped me down. The main slate and the late slate, I just missed. Kenny Lofton, late scratch, 1 minute after lock. Killed me. So tilting. Stuff like that can happen all the time in Summer League. You kind of just have to embrace it. But man, if we just got that news like 2 minutes before lock, would have been way better. I will say too, usually after the first few games, this is when teams can start shutting down some of their main players. So if you don't get starting lineups before lock, there is a chance of, guys, that risk of them not playing. We'll be posting all starting lineups over on Patreon. Basically, I'm just refreshing Twitter 24/7. Yeah, we've had decent success getting lineups before lock for most of these teams, but it's not a guarantee every single time. Okay, so that's the recap there. Let's just get right into it. So we'll start off with Philadelphia and Minnesota. So Philadelphia, this is now their third game. We saw them play yesterday. So let me bring up their rotation. So they ran the normal starters: Bona, Edwards, Council, McCain, and Doughton. 9-man rotation. Nothing super surprising here. Once again, the offenses run through the top 3 guys: Council, Doughton, McCain. Doughton had the best game once again. He has been playing really well in the Vegas Summer League. 34 and 35 fantasy points through 2 games. I think he'll be one of the more popular plays on the board. Ricky Council, again, I think he has the highest ceiling, but a little bit of a lower floor because of the peripheral stats. And then McCain, I think, is a decent option as well. I think he's a decent pivot off of Doughton. Now, we mentioned that with Kobe Jones for the Kings last night, and he absolutely smashed. No one clicked him. Again, if someone has a bad game in the Summer League, usually they're unowned like the next day. So what a lot of people do is they just see who did well game 1 or game 2, and then just plug those guys in. So, I personally think McCain and Doughton are pretty similar. So I definitely think you could play McCain over Doughton, or you could play them both. I mean, they're both a little bit underpriced in my opinion for their roles right now. They're both playing around 30 minutes. Again, Bona, kind of the same breakdown, right? It's just no offensive game, so I don't really see the upside in him. He's going to play around 20 minutes. I think there's better plays. Edwards, 4.8K, 23 minutes. Did play a little bit more than game 1. He's viable for the fact that he's starting and relatively cheap. And then off the bench, we got to mention Aluma. So 22 and 18 minutes. He's been a good point per minute player. His price went down about $1,000. I wasn't really on him last slate. I'm way more inclined to play him on this slate because of that price decrease. So Aluma, I do like off the bench. I don't really think there's anyone else. I mean, Tony Bradley. So here's the tricky part about Tony Bradley, right? He's a really good point per minute player, but he DNP'd game 1. He did play game 2, though. If you told me for sure Tony Bradley would play, I would say Bradley's a pretty similar play to like Moses Brown was last night. And if anyone took a shot at Moses Brown, he smashed, right? So if you want to consider Bradley in tournaments, that is fine. Now let's talk about Minnesota. So Minnesota, this is their third game as well. They played on Sunday. So they ran their same starters: Miller, Minot, Dillingham, Shannon, and Nix. Once again, though, Miller was limited with his minutes, so not really sure what's going on. I know he got hit in the eye in the first game, but only 17 minutes. Game 2 was a little bit weird, so definitely a concern there with the minutes. But the other starters, Minot played 30 minutes. He is 7.7. Dillingham played 28 minutes. Shannon played 30. And then Deshaun Nix also started to play 32 minutes. So of the top end guys, I think Minot probably would be my favorite just because good rebounder, can get those peripheral stats, reasonable price point. But like, if you want to go to Dillingham or Shannon, I think they're fine. 28 minutes for Dillingham, 20 or 30 minutes for Shannon. Shannon started slow but finished strong. So any of those main guys I'm fine with. I think Deshaun Nix is a really good value, 27 and then 32 minutes over the last couple games. I think he'll be pretty popular because of the last two games, but for good reason. I think he's a really solid value play. And then off the bench, not really much here. Heafy once again had a decent game. He's played well off the bench in 14 minutes. I think he's viable in tournaments. Edwards playing a little bit of the backup 5, 18 and 16 minutes over the last couple games. Again, pretty similar to what like Moses Brown was, I would say, last night. All right, Washington and Portland. So Washington's been weird, right? We got the news game 1 that they were going to like rest different players for each game. But it was the same guys again, Baldwin and Butler. So I'm pretty sure Baldwin and Butler will just not be playing in the Summer League. However, they've been running a very tight rotation. We did see Vukcevic back up Sar. But other than that, it was a pretty similar rotation. So Sar, 29 minutes. Also, Eugene Amorie did not play. So unless Amorie played game 1, did not play game 2, I would only play Eugene Amorie if he starts. But the starting lineup last game was Sar, George, Carrington, Davis, and Champagnie. Carrington played 34 minutes. Sar, 29 minutes, 30 minutes for Davis, 29 minutes for Champagnie. So really nice rotation here for Washington. Sar at the top at 8.7K, more of a contrarian option. Again, don't love the price point on him. I do like Carrington though at 7.9. Again, the minutes have just been really solid. He has the ball in his hands a ton, a relatively high floor, reasonable price point, and again, 30 plus minutes back-to-back games. So I'm pretty high on Carrington. Again, don't play Koulibaly, right? He is not with the team. So George shifted into the starting lineup, 22 and 25 minutes. I think he's a totally reasonable play. 5.8K, no issue there. But I do like Champagnie and Davis for value. Champagnie, 27, 29 minutes. We know he can stuff the stat sheet. And then Johnny Davis, again, a little bit more score independent, but 27, 30 minutes, 5.5K. I think both those guys are good value plays. Vukcevic, he backed up Sar, only played 15 minutes. Pretty disappointing game for 15 minutes as well. Not completely out of play, but just a contrarian play. Again, we haven't seen Baldwin or Butler, so doubt they play. We only saw Amorie game 1. Like I said, I would only play him if he starts. And then that's really it. I mean, Bernard played 20 minutes off the bench. I think there's probably safer value, though. Okay, so Portland. Portland played last night. And they won a close one against the 76ers. So they ran Down and Clegane, Murray, Minaya, Rupert, and they shifted Kennedy Chandler in the starting lineup over Kendrick Davis. Clegane at the top at 8.3K. Again, good rebounder, good shot blocker, has a relatively high floor. Minutes have not been amazing, right? 27 and 25 minutes, but I think he's relatively safe. McGowan's has come off the bench back-to-back games. I would only consider him if he starts, which there's an outside chance he could. Murray at 7.8K still has not shot well, 4 of 9, 5 of 17, but the minutes have been there. Not out of play, but it doesn't really stand out. Minaya is 6.4K. Don't really think I can go there because of the minutes. Ryan Rupert is 5.4. I think he's pretty safe. He had a bad game last time out, but still 32 minutes and the price went down. So I think Rupert's a pretty safe play. I think keep an eye on the starting lineup. Like if Kennedy Chandler starts again, he's fine. 24 minutes. If it's Kendrick Davis, he's reasonable as well. He came off the bench last game, lost a little bit of run. So monitor the starting lineup there. All right, Clippers. So the Clippers have been kind of trolling with their rotation. We saw them play on Sunday. They've really been spreading out. Or was it yesterday? Hold on. Where are the Clippers? It was Sunday. It was an early game, wasn't it? Yeah, it was an early game. That's why. So, gross rotation. They played what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They played 11 guys, all 11 on the roster. Really, really disgusting. Starters minutes were not great. Diabate only 17 minutes. Brown played 27 minutes. Hudgens 20. Christie 25. Miller 29. Kobe Brown at the top at 7.5K. Kind of underwhelming performances to start the Summer League. He had a couple big games in the Summer League last year. I still think he's in play, but again, the minutes have not been amazing. Miller, 7.2K. He's played the most out of anyone for the Clippers, 30 and 29 minutes. He's getting a lot of shots up. He's probably your best bet right now based on the rotation. Diabate at 6'1", never came back in, only 17 minutes. That's not good at all. I'm not saying he's going to play 17 minutes again. If he starts again, I think you got to expect mid-20s, but I think he'll be like unowned. So I think Diabate is like an interesting contrarian play, right? People will see that 17 minutes and avoid. But if he starts again, Good chance he goes back to the 25, 26 minutes, which would make him playable. I'm going to pass in Hudgens. Christie is 5.4, 25 and 27 minutes. Playable, but don't love it. And then off the bench, so it's been Dennis playing the most back-to-back games, 20 minutes, 4.9K. He's had relatively high usage. He's been doing some ball handling as well. I think he's a fine tournament play. All right, Milwaukee. So Milwaukee got absolutely killed. I won the early slate the other day with Ty Washington in my lineup, and Ty Washington finished with like 7 fantasy points. So the Bucks played what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. They played 16 guys last game. 16. Now, I think that's because the blowout, the game before that wasn't as deep of a rotation. Marchand Beauchamp, though, did close in a blowout, which I found a little bit surprising. 30 and 28 minutes. He's their go-to guy right now. No issue spending up for him. Again, it is a positive to note that even when they were getting killed, he was still out there. Andre Jackson, I just don't love the usage, right? Even in the G League, he was not putting up good numbers. Kind of the same thing with AJ Johnson. Just not a super high usage player, so I'll probably pass there. Livingston, so he started at the 5. They didn't start Ibu Baji, and he had a good game. 6.2K. I think he's a decent option. I think he would have played a little bit more too if the game would have stayed competitive. But yeah, 21 minutes though in game 1 in a competitive game was not ideal either. Baji came off the bench, so I'll pass there. Ryan Rollins has been playing off the bench, been playing well. I think there's a chance he could start, so keep an eye on that. If he starts, I would like him a little bit better. If it's Ty again at 4.9, yeah, I mean, I think Ty is a good play here. Like, this is how I do a lot of research here for Summer League, just to get a good idea of what these guys' stats are. Like G League, I think is pretty similar to Summer League. So Ty Washington had big numbers in the G League, right? So 2 years ago, he averaged 27 points, 8 assists, 7 boards. Last year, 21 points, 8 assists, 4 boards. So, yeah, he had a very underwhelming game in the starting lineup, 7 fantasy points. Still pretty tilted about that. But if he starts again, I do have some interest in him for value. I think he'll be very low owned because of how bad he played last game. Okay, and then finally, we've got New Orleans and San Antonio. So we saw the Pelicans play on Sunday. So let me bring up their rotation. So once again, they played 9, but once again, kind of spread out the minutes outside of Hawkins, right? So, 21 minutes for Messi in the starting lineup. He's been basically splitting with Makovich. 16 minutes only for Hauser, not great. 24 for Ford and Mitchell minutes-wise, right? So, they're playing 9, but they're spreading it out. Like off the bench, everyone's playing around like 20 or so minutes. But Hawkins, I do like. Maybe one day he can have a decent shooting game, 6 of 21, 6 of 18. He is their go-to guy right now, and this is not a great offense, not a great team offensively. So I really like the ceiling on Jordan Hawkins. Again, maybe he can finally make some shots. Reeves is 7K, just too pricey, right? Off the bench, I can't do it. Messi and Makovich are splitting the minutes. I would rather go to Makovich at 4.8K, 21 and 23 minutes. I think he's a pretty solid value play. Ford started, played 24 minutes. He's 6K. The other starter, Mitchell, 4.1. 24 minutes. He did not play game 1 though, so I think I would only play him if he starts. And then Brockington played 24 minutes off the bench. He's 5.1K. Again, minutes just not ideal. And finally, the Spurs. So when we bring up the Spurs rotation, they played on a back-to-back, so they kind of limited the minutes a bit on the main guys outside of Ingram. Would expect a bit of a tighter rotation this game. One thing to note, Steven Castle out for the Summer League. And then David Duke has missed the first 2 games. He didn't play in the pre-Summer League games either. So right now, my assumption is he's going to be out unless we hear otherwise. So that being said, there's actually a decent amount to like here from the Spurs because the highest priced guy would be Jamari Bouye at 5.9K. So they started Mensah, Ingram, Sissoko, Bouye, and Ward. Bouye is probably the standout play to me. Again, only played 24 minutes last game. I'm not super worried about it. I would expect him to get closer to that high 20s minute mark. And without Castle, most likely without Duke, I think Bouye looks really good. Harrison Ingram, 5.6K, 31 and 28 minutes, has not shot well, 3 of 9, 2 of 10, but he's cheap. And again, those 2 high usage players most likely out. So I do have some interest in Harrison Ingram. In college, he averaged 12 points, 8 boards, 2 assists in about 30 minutes a game. So at that price point, I think that's decent. Sissoko, 22 minutes. I would rather get to Ingram. Mensah played 24 minutes after only 14 in game 1. I think assuming he continues to start, he's a decent value play. I would expect around 20 minutes for him. And then the other starter was Ward, so he shifted in the starting lineup. Only played 18 minutes, though, so not great there. Off the bench, you saw Hodge play 20 minutes, viable in tournaments. Nelson, 10. Williams, 19. No one really played like insane minutes off the bench. This Masalaki guy, I pronounce his name, 16 minutes back-to-back games, playing kind of the backup 5. Again, playable because he's cheap and decent point per minute player. Okay, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for the Summer League video. Like I said, if you guys are interested in signing up for the Summer League package, you can check out the Patreon link down below. We've had a lot of success, been retweeting guys, yeah, hoping to keep it going. I'll have a breakdown for the early slate up in a bit on Patreon. I'll have a player pool, do a live stream before lock to answer any questions, and obviously Discord access to ask me stuff 24/7, and then all lineup, news and notes and stuff like that will be over on Patreon as well. All right, guys, thanks again for watching. If you do enjoy, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you all in the next.